Hello, hello, my beauties and bees, and welcome to another installment of Cryptic Corner, where we explore the unexplained, the supernatural, the paranormal and hidden, the mysterious, the alien, the accursed, and the forbidden. I am your host, Miss Bumblebee, and today's selection of cryptic content for you, chosen by the audience at large, was Pishtacos. Again, as I was saying in the live or into my live audience, it's not anything related to fish tacos, but it is some freaky folklore. So it comes from South America. We're going to get more details on that as we go through. I figure I would do some freaky folklore. Now, the thing about the freaky folklore here is that they don't have, just a still image of this dude, like the whole time. But they'll tell us what the fish tacos are. Fish tacos. I still want to call them fish tacos. I know that's not how it's actually pronounced, but all right, let's see. We need to get the volume on here.
Throughout the mist-shrouded mountains of Peru, Bolivia, and Ecuador,
is that better? That
there
volume
lurks
better?
a predator.
Is that volume better? Let me know. Hopefully our audio's good. There's nothing wrong with my mic. I mean, just talking about like last night when we did Charlotte's Web and I was having some audio issues. It's software issues. It's because I'm trying to run OBS and Streamlabs at the same time, and both of those have mic inputs, and they're both fighting for it and trying to cancel each other out, and it makes my volume drop the whole time I'm talking. So I have to keep my volume setting thing pulled up and slide it back over. It's so annoying. So I'm probably going to switch before I do another episode of Charlotte's Web, which is going to be a little while because I'm going to be out of town next Friday.
More feared than any natural animal or harsh element. The indigenous peoples of the Andes have whispered warnings about these beings for centuries. They appear as outsiders, pale, often foreign-looking men who travel alone. In colonial times, they were Spanish conquistadors or Catholic.
It sounds like that's a good origin expectation for them, is that they were European slavers.
Friars. Today, they pose as doctors, researchers, or tourists. But beneath their human disguises lies something ancient and hungry. The Pishtaco stalks remote mountain trails under cover of darkness or thick fog, carrying a curved blade of unnatural sharpness. With surgical precision, they slice open their victims to extract the one thing they crave: human fat. Their victims, if found at all.
So, just to make this clear, in case anybody didn't know, pale skin, foreign in the Andes. I might be Pishtaco, so that might be why I like fatty foods. That might be why I can't get enough deep fried food.
Appear hollow, their skin hanging loose like emptied sacks. The Pishtaco doesn't just kill,
Look,
it harvests. So if you're traveling through the Andes,
it's actually not really my skin. My real skin's underneath this. This is my human suit. Isn't it cute? It's the cutest human suit in the whole Pishtaco league. Pishtaco. I gotta start saying it right. I still want to call it. I don't call them fish tacos anymore. Let's discuss the Yowie. Yeah, I can put the Yowie on the list, but we have to get through Big Muddy Monster, because let me show you. Here's the polls, and there can only be one hairy hominid on the poll at a time. And right now, Big Muddy's on there, and he's not doing very good on the polls. So if you want to see Yowie, I do want to do Yowie. I love Yowies. We have to move past Big Muddy Monster, so, right? But everybody keeps voting for aliens. Y'all have been very alien heavy this last section of of Cryptic Corner. It's almost tempting me to make my own another alien segment on the show that's just aliens, so that we can get through more cryptids and ghosts. Yeah.
And encounter a pale stranger on a lonely path. Remember the local warning. Don't walk alone after dark. It might be the last walk you ever take.
I don't even have a knife. I have a fork. It's in the package still. It came with my food. Oh, yeah, I do have a knife. Hold on. Pishtaco time. Yeah. I want to carve your fat off with this little butter knife. Oh.
This episode of Freaky Folklore contains disturbing content, including graphic descriptions of bodily mutilation, surgical extraction, paralysis, indigenous trauma, colonial violence, and intense horror. Listener discretion is strongly advised.
I mean, most of that stuff's what we're all about here. And even the indigenous trauma is, I want to make people aware of that, because a lot of people don't understand those aspects of indigenous trauma and colonial, from the colonial era. It really fucked up these cultures. They created monsters based on us. Look at that. There's a monster based on a European person. That's my opinion on it, though.
Welcome to Freaky Folklore, where we dive headfirst into the darkest corners of human imagination. I'm your host and fellow fear enthusiast, Carmen Carrion, exploring the creatures and entities that have kept people awake for centuries. From whispers around conquistadors' campfires to modern encounters that spread like wildfire through remote mountain villages.
She was just talking a little bit too slow. Hey, the freak. Good morning.
We're examining mankind's endless fascination with the macabre and mysterious. There's something viscerally thrilling about stories that make your skin crawl, that make you hesitate before accepting help from a stranger on a lonely mountain trail, or trusting.
And that's kind of funny, though. That I'm not funny. It's tragic, really, that it's like lost. These things would disguise themselves as like a lost tourist. So part of the folklore is like, don't trust lost tourists because they might be pistachos. So people don't trust the tourists when they see them, and then like someone calling for help out in the wilds, and someone's like, nope, I'm not going to help that pistacho.
Pale-skinned doctor who appeared from nowhere in the mist. These tales aren't just entertainment. They're windows into our collective fears, cultural anxieties, and the shadows we all sense but rarely confront. Tonight's legend from the ancient peaks of South America might just have you reconsidering your next solo hike through remote mountain passes. This show proudly haunts the EerieCast Podcast Network. For more nightmare fuel that'll keep you deliciously terrified, visit EerieCast.com.
But we do not do EerieCast.com, so you got to support me right here. There's buttons down below. There's like a little thumbs up button, right? You hit that. There's a join button if you want to help out that way. You can join and send me money. You can also hit that bell and subscribe and hit the bell to be part of the Hive.
Or follow us wherever you consume your podcasts. Drop us an honest review on iTunes if you dare. Each one helps us lure in more listeners to our web of terror. And trust me, you don't want to face these monsters alone. So check those mountain trail maps twice. Keep your hiking companions close.
Oh, also, you can get a Cryptic Corner t-shirt that says Cryptic Corner right across to your boobs. Cryptic Corner is what my titties scream from the top of their lungs. And then on the back, you don't have to get this one, but on the back is Mothman. So that's my own Mothman design too. So these are on the t-shirt website. Let's see, PC usually has those going, but I think PC is asleep still. Let me Let's see if I can't drop a link. Yeah, it's right there. What? Yeah, there you go. Go get one of these cool tank tops. These are my favorite that I've designed so far. But I do like the t-shirts and the hoodies and stuff, but tank tops are awesome.
Remember that some warnings from Indigenous elders should never be dismissed as mere superstition. You're listening to Freaky Folklore, and tonight we're exploring the chilling legend of the Pishtaco, the fat-stealing phantoms of the Andes who have left a trail of hollow corpses throughout 5 centuries of documented history. Maria Quispe had lived in the shadow of the Andes her entire life. She had seen her small village of Haitara transform over the decades, electricity finally reaching their homes, a paved road connecting them to larger towns, young people leaving for cities and returning with strange new ideas and technologies. But some things remained unchanged. The mountains still dominated the horizon, ancient and unmoved by human progress.
And the Pistacos are still there, right?
And the old
Morning,
dangers
Dee.
still lurked in the remote passes and lonely trails. Maria had been teaching her granddaughter Carmen to weave in the traditional style, passing down patterns that had been in their family for generations. Carmen was just 13, bright and curious, but more interested in the smartphone her cousin had brought from Lima.
Morning, John Hudson. Did you see my rose?
Than in the ancient techniques of their ancestors. Abuela, why do we use this particular pattern on the edges? Carmen asked, her fingers struggling with a complex weave. It protects the wearer, Maria replied, guiding the girl's
We're
hand
also getting some ancient South American weaving folklore in this tale, or in this narrative.
with her own gnarled fingers. The zigzag confuses evil spirits, makes them unable to follow you. Carmen tried to hide her smile. Evil spirits like the Pishtaco? Maria's hands stilled. You should not speak of such things lightly, child. But Abuela, my teacher says the Pishtaco is just an old story, a way people explained bad things before they understood science.
Oh man, I should have wore some zigzags today, because I'm tempting the Pistacco to come after me in my home.
The old woman's eyes hardened. Your teacher is from the city. She knows books, not mountains. She leaned closer to her granddaughter. Let me tell you something that happened to me when I was younger than you are now. Carmen sat up straighter, suddenly interested. Abuela rarely spoke of her childhood.
If homie looks like this, though, I wouldn't approach him either.
I was 12, Maria began, her voice dropping to just above a whisper. My father was a herder, and I often helped him with the sheep in the high pastures. One evening, we were returning home later than usual.
Ah, legit sheep sounds. I love it. Oh my gosh. Well done. Ah. Yowie. No, we're talking about discussing Yowie at a later time, Native Atheist, not right now. But welcome, good morning.
The mist had come down thick, as it does in the rainy season. Maria's eyes grew distant, seeing not the adobe walls of her home, but the misty slopes of 60 years ago. We were hurrying because no one should be on the mountain paths after dark, but the sheep were stubborn that day, and one had gone missing. My father told me to continue home with the flock while he searched for the lost one.
What's in the bag? Well, they collect fat, human fat, so I'm assuming it's fat in the bag. But if I was collecting fat, I'd probably try to use like a jar or something, not a drippy bag. Although bags can be, inflated and whatnot. When I think of a optimal bag to put fat in, though, I think, have you ever changed the soda things out in a fast food or a gas station or anything where they got fountain sodas in the back? There's big jelly bags that are inside those that are full of syrup. That's what I think would be the optimal way to store human fat if you were a Pistacco.
Carmen leaned closer, captivated by the tension in her grandmother's voice. I was afraid, but did as I was told. The path home followed a stream through an...
And this is the soap that Dr. Ben makes. This one has a little bumblebee on it. Look at that. This one is the Hive. And it smells so good. So, yeah. It's not made from human fat, though. At least not as far as I know.
Narrow valley. As I rounded a bend, I saw a man standing by the water. A stranger. Maria's hands trembled slightly as she continued. He was tall and dressed like a doctor, with a white coat even though we were in the mountains. His skin was pale as bone, and when he smiled at me, his teeth seemed too sharp and white. He called to me in Spanish, asking if I was lost, if I needed help. "What did you do?" Carmen whispered. I remembered my mother's warnings about the Pishtaco. I clutched my little cross and said the prayer she taught me. The man took a step toward me, and I saw something glint in his hand. A curve.
So how did they do this before the Spanish brought them Jesus then? How did they handle the Pishtaco before religion found them?
Blade, the Pishtana, and I saw his eyes. Maria shuddered. They reflected the fading light like an animal's eyes. Carmen's skepticism had vanished, replaced by genuine fear. I ran. Maria continued. Abandoning the sheep, I ran faster than I ever had in my life. I could hear him behind me, his footsteps unnaturally quiet for someone in pursuit.
Yeah, maybe I'd be all right. I'm pretty skinny. Maybe the Pistacos wouldn't want me. I mean, I have a little tummy fat. That's kind of new. That came with my butt. Yeah, as my body transforms, I do have fat in different places. It's kind of nifty, but the Pistacco would have trouble pinning it down because it's flowing, you see. It's flowing from different regions of my body. It's transforming me. So as they sliced in one spot, it might slither away. Just food for thought.
He called out to me, his voice sweet as honey, but cold as mountain water. He said he only wanted to help me, that he had medicine for tired young girls. Did he catch you? Carmen asked, though the answer was obvious. Her grandmother was here, alive, telling the tale. Maria shook her head. The mist grew thicker, and somehow I found a small cave hidden behind a waterfall, a place I'd discovered months before while playing. I crawled inside and made myself as small as possible. The old woman's face darkened. I heard him searching, splashing through the stream, his voice growing angrier as he called for me. He remained there for hours until the full darkness.
He needs to aim a little. So like a 12 or 13. She said she was 12 or 13. I can't remember. Either the girl she's telling it to is 13, and she was 12. But anyway, we need some. We need some clarification on what kind of fat he's looking for, because infants will have different fat than adults. So that's like why there's a famous story about a couple who was like had a car accident and went off the road in snowy mountains with their baby, and the baby, like, they got frostbite and lost fingers and toes and everything, and the baby was fine because baby fat is so much better at keeping temperature regulation as long as you don't move around a whole bunch, as you don't exert yourself, which babies don't because they just lay there. So did they want, or what kind of fat are the Pistacos going for? Come on, Grandma. This is almost as bad as Joe Biden. Yeah, Joe Biden's pretty bad. War criminals, all of them. Sorry I'm late. Why is young Norma Jean hosting this morning? Where is our girl Brie? Check this out too. I love this look. It looks better with the dress I was wearing yesterday though. But like, I was at the mall, right? And came at a Hot Topic. and we're going down the escalator, and these kids were behind us, and I turned to look for it, and then look back, and they said, hey, and started yelling at me, and they're like, oh, we love your whole thing. You look so amazing. It was so funny. I had groupies in the mall. Really, like I told Bo and Ben, who were with me at the time, I told the boys, I was like, that really filled my bucket. I needed that. I needed someone to tell me I'm pretty. Tell me I look pretty. Tell me I look good out in public. That's crazy. I think they like the boldness of my expression, too, because I'm pretty... and I stick out like a sore thumb, a 6-foot, blonde, tall, pale woman in El Paso.
Miss Kane, I didn't leave that cave until morning light. What about Papa, your father? Maria's eyes filled with tears. My father found me the next day. He had heard my screams from across the valley and came searching.
Oh, thank you, the freak. $2 super chat. It says BB heart eye sunglasses. Sunglasses 100. Yeah, I'm gonna interpret that as saying them sunglasses look amazing. I love these sunglasses. It's actually Bo picked these out for me. They're cheap like sunglasses, so they wouldn't cost me that much. They're like $2, but they're super cute. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes when I was still working across on the other side of the mountain, I would sometimes I would answer my Uber driver in German in the morning, so they wouldn't talk to me. It was an easy way to avoid conversation. I don't like to talk first thing in the morning, which is surprising because I do this morning show, but I have to get up and move around and do all kinds of stuff before that. And this was much, much earlier. This was like 5:30 a.m.
But the mist was thick, and the valleys distort sounds. By the time he reached the stream, I was hidden, and the stranger was gone. Maria fell silent, her hands resuming their work on the weaving almost unconsciously. That's it? Carmen prompted. You hid and were safe. Not quite, Maria said quietly. A week later, a shepherd from the neighboring village found a body high on the mountain slopes. It was a man they didn't recognize. A traveler, they thought, who had gotten lost in the mist. But his body... Her voice faltered. They said it was like an empty sack, the skin hanging loose where it should have been filled with flesh.
I think that what they're describing here is sort of like finding somebody who had starved in the wild, right? Like somebody who's all skin and bones, and conflating it with this weirdo that was trying to stab the little girl in the woods.
Single cut from chest to belly, sewn closed with strange thread. All his fat had been removed with surgical precision. Carmen's eyes widened. Was it the same man? The one who chased you? No, child, Maria said, her voice hollow. It was my father. Carmen gasped. But you said... I said my father found me the next day, and he did. But after ensuring I was safe at home, he went back to the mountains to confront what had threatened his daughter.
Your dad went to pick a fight with his Pishtaco? And this is the first time you're telling your daughter that your dad was killed by a supernatural creature?
His hands tightened on the weaving. He never returned home that night. And when they found him, he had been harvested. Maria looked directly into her granddaughter's eyes. The Pishtaco took my father's fat because he couldn't take mine. They say the fat is used to make powerful machines run smoothly, or medicines for rich foreigners, or cosmetics that keep wealthy women's skin young. I don't know what is true. I know only what I saw. She touched Carmen's cheek gently. So you will learn.
So, like, as... Who was it that said that about making soap? Yeah, the freak. You were right on the money with what they're going to use it for. They're going to use it for for machine oil. They're going to use it for cosmetic oil. And Presumably soap. We'll consider it soap. Yeah.
Patterns that protect, and you will never dismiss the old stories as foolishness. Some dangers are as ancient as these mountains, and as real as the ground beneath your feet. Carmen nodded solemnly, her earlier skepticism forgotten. That night, she dreamed of pale men with reflecting eyes, carrying curved blades that gleamed in the moonlight, walking the mist-shrouded trails outside her window.
See, it's weird that they're just describing pharmaceutical executives.
The Pishtaco, or as some pronounce it, Pishtaco, is one of the most enduring and terrifying figures in Andean folklore, a being intrinsically linked to the violent history of colonization and the continuing exploitation of indigenous communities. Unlike many folkloric entities that fade with time, the Pishtaco has evolved alongside Andean society, adapting its appearance.
What kind of funny hat are you gonna, or fun party hat are you gonna get? I have a few hats. I have this one. I have a pink one like this too. It's like I call it my pink pony hat, but it's this one. It looks good with this hair too. With my hair like this. It doesn't really match my outfit so much. Plus, this is my cryptid hunting hat, so we're doing CrypticCorner. I have other hats too, though. I have like a clown hat and stuff like that.
And methods while maintaining its essential nature as a harvester of indigenous bodies. The word Pishtaco comes from the Quechua pishte, meaning to behead or to slice, reflecting the surgical precision with which these entities extract their victims' fat.
I watch Supernatural too. Other than the Monster of the Week, I really didn't like the overarching story after season 6, but I thought that was a good place to stop. And if they were to do more, do a spin-off. I'm in El Paso. I'm spending a year in El Paso. I'll be here from November 2024 through November 2025, and then we are heading out to California.
These beings are almost universally described as outsiders, initially Spanish conquistadors or Catholic friars during the colonial period, later European-looking strangers or travelers, and in modern times, often North American or European researchers, doctors or aid workers. They are invariably pale-skinned, often with unusual eyes that reflect light like an animal's. They may appear well-dressed and speak the local language with just enough of an accent to mark them as foreign. While they present themselves as human, close observation reveals subtle wrongness, movements too precise, breathing too shallow or non-existent, and a coldness that radiates from them like an aura. Some accounts describe them as
creepy. So, like, Grandma just said that they use the fat for machines. What kind of machines do they run? Do these creatures run? That's interesting.
having hollow backs, their human appearance merely a facade hiding their true nature. The Pishtaco signature trait is the specialized tool they carry, a curved sickle-like blade called a pishtana. This implement is used with surgical precision to make a single incision, usually in the abdomen, through which they extract every drop of fat from their victim's body. The historical context of the Pishtaco is deeply rooted in the trauma of colonization. When Spanish invaders arrived in the Andes in the 16th century, they brought catastrophic disease, brutal labor practices, and systematic exploitation that decimated indigenous populations.
Yeah, they were pretty brutal. And I don't know about harvesting people for fat, but yeah, for slaves, definitely for labor.
The Pishtaco emerged as an embodiment of this predatory relationship, the outsider who literally consumes native bodies. What's particularly significant is how the legend adapted as colonial power structures evolved. During the colonial period, Pishtacos were often described as friars or priests, reflecting the Catholic Church's role in subjugation. During the 19th century, as European engineers and entrepreneurs came to exploit mineral wealth, Pishtacos began appearing as surveyors and miners. By the 20th century, as medical and anthropological research became more common in indigenous areas, the Pishtaco transformed again, now appearing as...
That is exactly right, DeFreak. They want that yellow metal. They're after the gold. When they were hitting up those Andes mountains. They weren't searching for fat.
Doctors, researchers, or aid workers. This evolution reveals the legend's function as an ongoing commentary on exploitative relationships between indigenous communities and outside powers. From an anthropological perspective, the Pishtaco serves multiple functions in Andean society. Beyond simply explaining disappearances or deaths, this legend embodies complex ideas about body, power, and exploitation.
It's a story that says avoid white people in the woods, which, for the most part, is probably a good idea. Pistachos when beef tallow just doesn't cut it, right?
Pishtaco's focus on fat is especially significant. In traditional Andean cosmology, body fat is associated with life force, fertility, and social bonds. By stilling fat, the Pishtaco doesn't merely kill, it captures the victim's essence, their potential, their future. The uses attributed to the stolen fat reveal another layer of meaning.
I did not know my potential was stored in my fat. Gracious. Maybe I should get more potential.
Indigenous Andeans believe Pishtacos harvested fat to make church bells ring more clearly, to create medicine for European diseases, or to lubricate machinery. In each case, the fat literally fuels the mechanisms of colonial power. Indigenous bodies consume to maintain the systems that oppress them. In modern accounts, the fat is often said to be exported for cosmetics or pharmaceuticals used in wealthy nations.
Would you buy little sacks of fat from a glowing-eyed pale weirdo even if you were a European trader, a soap maker? Like, say you're a soap maker and you like set up shop and you're Spanish or whatever, and you set up shop on I don't know, in Lima or something, and someone knocks on your door late at night and it's this glowing-eyed pale weirdo. He's like, would you like to buy some of this totally not human fat for your soap?
Updating the metaphor for contemporary global inequalities. The message remains the same. Indigenous bodies are resources to be extracted for others' benefit. The psychological impact of this belief system cannot be overstated. In areas where the Pishtaco legend remains strong, it shapes behavior in measurable ways. People avoid traveling alone after dark. They maintain suspicion of outsiders, particularly those associated.
And for the most part, those are all good, solid traits to have, right?
With medicine or research. Some communities maintain protective rituals, including carrying garlic, mirrors, or certain herbs believed to repel these entities.
I wish that had been used in the story instead of the cross, because it would be nice for them to use something from their indigenous. It would be nice. Well, who the fuck am I to say? But someone clutching a cross is colonized, right? Be nice to see the indigenous way of dealing with the supernatural entities instead of the old vampire tropes that were brought over with the Spanish.
Be easy to dismiss these practices as superstition. They serve practical social functions, encouraging group travel, which is indeed safer, maintaining healthy skepticism toward outsiders who may have exploitative agendas, and preserving cultural boundaries in the face of homogenizing global influences. The Pishtaco legend has been documented in academic literature since the 16th century. Spanish chronicler Cristobal de Molina wrote in 1574 of indigenous peoples fleeing their villages because they believed Spaniards were killing them to extract fat for medicines. In the modern...
Yeah, I like Dean too. I like Dean much better than Sam. Dean can be my daddy.
Era, Pishtaco panics continue to erupt periodically. In 1987...
Oh my gosh, I'm glad that you didn't get lost, though, because if you get lost, the Pishtaco might get you, Ryan. But they give you free liposuction, so if you tell them where you want the fat removed from, I'd be like, right here, maybe? That'd be it, though. I don't really want to lose my booty.
During a cholera epidemic in Peru, several vaccination teams were attacked because locals believed they were Pishtacos harvesting fat under the guise of providing medical care. In 2009, Peruvian police arrested a gang they claimed was killing people to extract and sell their fat, a case that made international headlines before authorities later backed away from their initial claims. These panics often coincide with periods of increased exploitation or intervention by outside forces, suggesting the Pishtaco functions as a cultural...
Like they show up and pretend to be the Red Cross and then get you inside their little tents and they're like, I'm going to cut out your fat now. Crazy.
Alarm system, activating when indigenous communities perceive new threats to their autonomy and bodily integrity. The Pishtaco's origins can be traced to the violent collision of worlds that began with the Spanish conquest of the Inca Empire in 1532. However, archaeological evidence suggests the concept has...
And I like Jensen Ackles in the My Bloody Valentine remake too. A lot of people didn't like that one, but I did. I liked it better than the original one anyway.
Deeper roots in pre-Columbian beliefs. Ancient Andean civilizations practiced ritual extraction of body fat in certain ceremonial contexts. The Mochi culture, 100 to 700 CE, created ceramics depicting ritual specialists removing fat from human bodies, suggesting the substance had sacred significance long before European arrival. Some scholars connect the Pishtaco to pre-conquest Andean deities.
Well, I mean, the fat is important as a person. You need that fat to survive the more dearth seasons of your life, right? What are the seasons like in the Andes? I'm sure they're pretty rough, so there's going to be times where you're going to need to live off your body fat.
Associated with mountains and caves, powerful beings who demanded sacrifices in exchange for fertility and protection. When the Spanish arrived with their incomprehensible technologies and devastating diseases, indigenous cosmology already contained the conceptual framework for entities that extracted life essence from human bodies. The trauma of colonization transformed these existing spiritual concepts into something more sinister.
How is Ryan late and then already stole third place? What? How'd that happen? You think that DJ Megan's been talking and Hudson's been talking? I guess John Hudson's in second place. But I'm just surprised. That's all.
The astronomical death toll from European diseases, the brutality of the Meta labor system that worked indigenous people to death in silver mines.
Yes, famine resistance.
And the physical violence of conquest created the perfect conditions for the Pishtaco to emerge, blending pre-existing concepts about fat with the very real predation indigenous peoples experienced. By the late 16th century, the belief was firmly established throughout the Andes. The Spanish called it nonsense, but from an indigenous perspective, it was a perfectly logical explanation for the devastating impact of colonization.
Ooh, did you really? You're so sweet. Ryan, you are so sweet. Why you gotta be so sweet to me?
On their communities and bodies. This history reveals something crucial about the Pishtaco's persistence. Far from being merely superstitious, the legend provided an explanatory framework for actual experiences of exploitation. When your community is being decimated by foreign invaders who extract your resources and labor, the Pishtaco isn't fantasy. It's a meaningful metaphor that helps make sense of otherwise incomprehensible trauma. The Pishtaco has gradually entered wider popular culture, appearing in literature, film, and even academic discourse as a...
And on Supernatural. Yes, that was on Supernatural too. I don't know what they were doing in North America.
Powerful symbol of colonial and neo-colonial relationships. For indigenous activists, the Pishtaco has become a powerful metaphor in political discourse. When protesting against extractive industries, biopiracy, or medical exploitation, speakers often explicitly reference the Pishtaco, drawing connections between historical forms of bodily exploitation and contemporary economic relationships that continue to extract resources.
I mean, it's good. It's good to have like a warning, some kind of warning system to say, hey, don't trust these types of people when those type of people have exploited you. But yeah, I mean, there is a little bit of bigotry there, but if it's well grounded, I mean, indigenous populations didn't survive colonialism by trusting the invaders.
From indigenous communities for global consumption. In November 2009, headlines around the world reported a bizarre story from Peru. Police had arrested a gang suspected of murdering up to 60 people to extract their body fat, which they allegedly sold to European cosmetics manufacturers for thousands of dollars per liter. Authorities displayed containers of what they claimed was human fat and described an international trafficking network. The case, which became known as Pistazos Modernos in Peruvian media, captured
The modern pistazos.
international attention. However, within weeks, it began to unravel. No bodies were found, no cosmetics companies admitted to purchasing human fat, and medical experts questioned whether such a trade could exist at all, given that animal fat would be far easier to obtain. By December, Peru's top law
You can get it from a liposuction company like they did in Fight Club. You can, remember that scene where they're throwing the bags over the fence and the snares on there and all the human fat starts dripping down? They were using the types of bags I was talking about, though. Maybe that's why I think of that type of bag when I think of transporting human fat, too, because I got like Fight Club on my brain where they were in those like syrup bags for fast food syrup bags for soda.
enforcement officials have backed away from the original claims, suggesting the suspects may have invented the fat-selling story to cover more conventional murders. Critics argued the entire episode revealed how deeply the Pistazo myth remains embedded in Peruvian consciousness, influencing not just rural indigenous communities, but also urban police and government officials. Whether or not an actual fat trafficking ring existed, the panic revealed something important. When unexplained disappearances occur in the Andes, the ancient explanation still rises to the surface. I never intended to research the Pistazo. As a graduate student in medical anthropology, I had come to Peru to study traditional healing practices in highland communities, not chasing.
No one expects to examine the pistazo. You get roped into the folklore.
After folklore. My dissertation advisor had warned me about becoming too fixated on sensationalist myths rather than documenting actual medical knowledge. But 3 months into my fieldwork in Ayacucho, I couldn't ignore how the Pistazo kept appearing in conversations. Whenever I asked about illness or the body, eventually the discussion would turn to them, the fat stealers, the night surgeons, the hollow men who prey on the unwary. At first, I recorded these stories with academic detachment, seeing them as metaphors for larger social anxieties. But then I met Alicia.
They probably thought you were a pistazo. You're here for the pistachios? Aw, nuts.
82-year-old former mine worker who changed my perspective forever. I was interviewing him about respiratory treatments. The mine had left his lungs damaged, when he suddenly grabbed my wrist with surprising strength. "You want to know about real sickness?" he asked, his voice dropping to a whisper. "I will tell you what they don't put in your university books." Alicio rolled up his shirt to reveal a long, thin scar running from his sternum to his navel. Unlike the rough surgical scars I'd seen from rural operations, this one was unnaturally precise, a perfect line that had healed to a silvery white against his brown skin. "I should be dead," he said simply. "I am the only one who ever escaped the Pistazo's table." I started to offer the standard explanations. Perhaps he had had surgery in a city hospital and misremembered the circumstances due to trauma or anesthesia. But something in his clear, steady gaze stopped me. It was 1968.
So someone asked earlier about what the time frame is on some of these stories. This one's 1968.
He began. "I was walking home from the mine at dusk. We had been working overtime because a section had collapsed, and the foreman kept us late clearing debris. The other men lived in the company housing, but my wife was expecting our third child, so I had moved my family to my cousin's house in the next valley." He described the narrow mountain path he took, how fog had settled in as it often did in the rainy season. I knew
This fog seems to be an overarching characteristic of these encounters as well.
that path like my own hand, could have walked it blindfolded. But that night, something felt wrong. The air was too still, the birds too quiet. Halfway home, Alicia...
When I cut this, I'll probably put some kind of slideshow or something over top of the video because it's just this scene, the same background, which is not exactly riveting. I mean, he's creepy looking, but he can't keep me occupied for the full hour of the show. So I'll probably find some different art of Pistazos to shuffle through here to make it a little more dynamic.
encountered a landslide blocking the trail. Unusual because there had been no rain for days. As he searched for a way around it, he heard someone call for help from the rocks above. It was a man in a mining company uniform, like a supervisor, but I didn't recognize him.
You talking about ayahuasca? The freak? Yeah, ayahuasca. The mystic tea of the Andes.
Said he was inspecting the landslide and had injured his leg. Could I help him reach the road? Alicio climbed up to assist, finding a pale-skinned man with unnaturally dark eyes. His Spanish was perfect but strange, like he had learned it from books, not people. His injured leg seemed fine when he thought I wasn't looking. Nevertheless, Alicio helped the stranger, supporting him as they walked. The fog grew thicker, and Alicio realized they had turned onto an unfamiliar path. When I questioned him, he said it was a shortcut. Something in his voice made my skin go cold.
A shortcut that he's gonna slice you up with. Hold on, where's my Pishtaco? Mine is a plastic butter knife. I think this one's from KFC. I'm not sure though. Could be from a lot of different places. It wasn't a package with a fork though. But I use this to slice open people and extract their fat, which I used to cook my fish tacos in to deep fry them.
They reached a small stone structure built against the mountainside. Not a normal house. No windows. Just a metal door like a mine entrance. He said his equipment was inside, that he needed medicine for his leg. As they entered, Alicio felt a sharp pain in his neck. Like a wasp sting, but colder. My legs gave out immediately. I could see, hear, feel everything, but couldn't move a muscle. The stranger's demeanor changed completely. He moved with fluid efficiency, no sign of a limp, as he arranged Alicio on a metal table. The room was strange, clean like a city hospital, with bright lights that hurt my eyes. Glass jars lined one wall. Some contained yellowish liquid. Alicio watched in paralyzed horror as the man changed into what looked like surgical clothing and arranged gleaming metal tools on a small table. He spoke to me the whole time, but not like I was a...
This is super creepy. I like this story so far. This is very much like a suspenseful horror movie. I'm actually enticed by it. Damn it. So I put this little rose ring, ow, there it goes. This ring on last night. Then I ate a whole bunch of pasta and my hands swell up. So now it's got like a little cut around my pinky. Kind of hurts. I love the ring though. It's a rose. But, ouch.
Person, like I was livestock. He explained how healthy I was, how excellent my fat...
I don't know if it was a needle or the thing has a stinger. I don't know.
That would be, how much he could extract without killing me immediately. The paralytic drug kept Alicio conscious but immobile as the stranger cut a precise line down his torso with a curved blade. The pain was... Alicio's voice faltered for the first time. There were no words, but I couldn't scream, couldn't even close my eyes. The Pishtaco had just begun to extract fat from the incision when something unexpected happened. Shouts and flashlight beams outside. My wife had grown worried when I didn't return home. She convinced my cousins to search for me. They had followed my tracks to the landslide.
Damn. How long were you gone for?
Stranger froze, listening to the voices outside. He seemed annoyed, not frightened. He quickly stitched me closed. Not completely, just enough to keep my insides from spilling out. Then he injected me with something else that made the world go black. Alicio woke 2 days later in his cousin's house, feverish and barely alive. They found me by the main trail, not near any building. My cousins insisted there were no structures where I described. The mining company denied any supervisor was inspecting that area.
It almost sounds like this could have been like organ harvesting in some level, like not actually a Pishtaco, but like someone trying to trick you into disappear. It's the waking up in a bathtub full of ice kind of story, right?
A local healer had treated his partially closed wound, fighting infection that nearly killed him. No official report was ever filed. Who would believe a Quechua miner over a mining company? I examined his scar more closely. The stitching pattern was unlike anything I'd seen in modern or traditional practice, more like integrated hooks than separate sutures. The healer who saved me said she had seen such wounds before, always on bodies found empty, missing their fat. I was the only living person she had treated with these marks. Alicio pulled his shirt down, his story complete. The doctors in the city later said I was attacked by thieves, that I hallucinated the rest from blood loss. The mine owners suggested I injured myself to claim.
You could have been attacked by thieves that were after your organs, though. That happens. I mean, not like it's not a common thing, I don't think, but at least not in like out in the mines, right? Out in the mountains, far from civilization. It's usually more of an urban kind of crime, but
Compensation. He fixed me with an unwavering gaze. You are educated. You have traveled. Tell me, what kind of thief cuts a man open with surgical precision, begins removing his fat, then stitches him up before leaving? What kind of accident explains this scar? I had no answer then. I still don't today. After meeting Alicio, I shifted my research focus, documenting dozens of Pishtaco encounter stories throughout the region. The details varied, but patterns emerged. Victims were typically alone in remote areas. The Pishtaco appeared as someone plausibly belonging in the region, but not
yeah, like a traveler. But I'm just trying to make sure I stop enough and to not get a copyright strike.
locally known. They often claim to need help, turning the victim's compassion against them. Modern accounts frequently mentioned unusual paralytic drugs and surgical precision that exceeded local medical capabilities. And survivors, the few who escaped before extraction, invariably faced skepticism from authorities and medical professionals. I completed my dissertation, but struggled to find academic support for publication. My advisor suggested removing the more sensationalist accounts and focusing on the Pishtaco as metaphor rather than presenting encounter stories as potentially factual. I refused.
Well, I mean, it is a metaphor, right? You've acknowledged it's a metaphor for colonialism.
And remained stuck in adjunct positions while my more conventional colleagues advanced. Yet I couldn't abandon what I had learned. Each time a new medical extraction scandal emerges,
I wonder if pocket sand would work on a Pishtaco.
unauthorized collection of indigenous DNA, clinical trials conducted without proper consent, bioprospecting that exploits traditional knowledge. I see the Pishtaco's shadow falling across the Andes. Last year, I received a package from Alicio's grandson. The old man had passed away, but he had left something for me, a small glass vial containing yellowish fluid. The note enclosed said simply, he found this among his things after he escaped. He kept it hidden all these years. He said you would know what to do with it. The university lab identified it as human adipose tissue preserved in an unknown solution. The preservation method doesn't match any standard medical technique, past or present. The DNA is human, but shows unexplained anomalies that the technicians couldn't categorize. I keep the vial locked in my desk drawer, unsure what to do with it. Sometimes
I don't know, you could have somebody, like a professional, examine it.
at night, I find myself staring at the yellowish fluid catching the light, wondering if I'm looking at proof of something impossible or merely another layer of the mystery. All I know with certainty is that when I travel to Peru now, I never walk mountain paths alone after dark. Some warnings should be heeded, whether you believe in monsters or not.
All right.
I want to thank everyone who joined me for this episode of Freaky Folklore.
Yeah, we're going to stop that right there. But yeah, it's Freaky Folklore is the channel that we were watching. From Eerie Cast, I guess, if you're interested. I'm going to subscribe because I did enjoy the storytelling. And it looks like they cover a lot of the same kind of stuff I do. I don't necessarily love the format without any kind of visuals, but I can cover that in my editing to some extent. Makes me have to do more work, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. So yeah, I may have to revisit this. But let's I mean, there's a lot of deep history for the Pistacos too. Anti-aging creams and all sorts of stuff. Yeah. So, I mean, getting an idea of what these creatures are, metaphorically, I guess is the best word to say, is it's pretty key to understanding the whole folklore around them. But what do you guys think about Pistacos? Are they something that actually existed in history as some kind of underground trade system, actual monsters with shimmering eyes and stingers that paralyze you, and or just folk memory of the slave trade and forced labor and that sort of impact of colonialism on the indigenous populations. You let me know in the comments down below. You tell me how you feel about this. And yeah, and if you disagree with anything that if you disagree with anything that I've presented here, definitely argue with me in the comments, because I love to argue. I don't know if you know this about me, but I love to argue with people and have debates. Anyway, please remember to be kind, take care, and we will see you next time.